Yes, it is 6:30, so we are going to start on time. I am streaming live on Facebook, so hello to everyone who is watching via the live stream on Facebook. So happy for you all to be here and to join us. It's less about those who are in the room and more about our special guests that I'm really excited to introduce. So, Uloma Wabara is the author of J Praise All Day. As a speaker, career professional, mentor, facilitator, and novelist, she centers the work she does on her faith in Jesus Christ. She received a Bachelor of Science in Technical Management from DeVry University and her Master of Project Management degree from Keller Graduate School of Management. Originally born in Nashville, Tennessee, she is a lover of quiet moments, running trails, healthy eating, and traveling to new places. Currently, she is residing in California, penning her second book, and enjoying the sunshine and inspiration that comes through living each day to its fullest. If and when you need to get more information about this lovely, lovely, lovely young woman, you can visit her website at onlythelomipublishing.com. So thank you, Yoloma, for joining me. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this time. And I'm just, all of that, just welcoming me in. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's talking about me.
Right. That's absolutely what I love is because we do this work, right? And sometimes we don't have those opportunities to really like sit back and just kind of bask in like all that you did. Like you are an author, right? Hold on, let me show you. Let me show you this. Jade praise all day. So I don't talk about it. I am about it. Supporting Black authors, not just Black authors, Black female authors, and making those connections because I really, really think that it's important. But before we even get into the book and all of that, there's this thing that I do because I also work in education. So I help coach teachers as a vice principal in high school or with high school teachers. And one of these things that I use, they're called empowering questions, if you all can see that. So basically, they're like a bunch of cards in a deck that contain questions that are good for reflecting and meditation and things of that nature. So you can use them for writing, you can use them with any other empowering process that you desire. And what they do is they help you examine your deeper self, discover and release your inner strength, and bring more energy into your life. So I wanted to start this conversation with one of the cards. And so I just chose it at random. And the way that it's written so that you're asking the question to yourself. And the question I'm asking you to start us off with is, what does happiness mean to me?
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm starting us deep.
Yeah, that's very deep. Yes, very deep. Ooh, happiness. Okay, so I think happiness comes from, for me at least, is when you are happy with yourself, you're okay with yourself, and who you are. You're no longer trying to fit the mold into what other people want you to be, and you come to a place where you discover like what your purpose is in life, and you do it, and you don't have just a fear of what other people think about you. So you're just kind of at peace, and you just decide like, I'm gonna go for what I love to do, or what I know God is calling me to do, and I'm no longer like trying to be what someone or what everybody expects of me. So I think for me, like, that's where happiness, when I'm doing what I love, and I'm no longer afraid of what anybody expects of me, and that's where my happiness comes from.
So
Yeah.
within kind of what you described, where do you feel like you are? Like if we're looking at this on a scale, where's Yoloma in her journey and pathway to happiness?
Okay. I think that on a scale from 1 to 10, I would say I want to say I'm at a 10, and I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because there was a point in my life where I just absolutely did not know, or I was doing everything to try to for profit and for gain, and I'm trying to do things so that I could be quote unquote successful. And at this point I'm more aligned in my in whatever my in my what my purpose is. Like this book was something that was dreamed of years ago, but then I was like, I don't even know how that would come about. I have no idea how to make something like that happen. And now, because of who I know that I am in Christ, I now trust, not only just trust in myself, I trust in where he's guiding me. And so I feel like there's much more that he has for me, and I feel like I'm no longer like at a place where I'm lost. So I do feel like I'm like, this is the beginning of me doing way more than I could even imagine. So in a sense, I just feel like I'm at a 10 because I'm guided and I trust where I'm going now, where before I just was like, I don't know where I'm going. I'm just trying to do things, whatever it is that's going to bring me some sort of profit. And I feel like I'm more in a place of walking in purpose.
So what happened? What was that like in between space that got you from being in that mindset of trying to like go after the profit and that gain to, you know what, I'm just gonna walk in my purpose and trust what God has for me?
I think when I surrendered, and by surrender, I mean when because I was, previously I would be in doing different jobs and just trying to, I would be in the church and kind of out of the church. The church has been the biggest, the biggest support and foundation for me in aligning, helping me get aligned with my purpose. Because before I would just be kind of like in and out, vacillating, so they say, like you're in and then you're out, and I just didn't have a sense of who I was before. And I think that when I finally said, okay, God, what is it that you want me to do? And that didn't happen until, like, I would say about 6 years ago when I moved here to Los Angeles. 6 years ago, when I made the decision to kind of let go of whatever I thought would be, manufacturing my life and trying to get things to happen the way that I wanted to get. I just kind of released it and I said, okay, Lord, what is it that you want me to do? I think I had more peace and not trying to figure everything out.
Right.
And just let him guide me to those to things. And then something that he showed me years ago, which was writing a book, manifested now because I wasn't doing it in my own power, so to speak. Like I wasn't like, hey, I'm gonna write this book and what's hot out there right now? What is the thing that people are interested in? I just did what he thought was what he wanted out there. So I feel comfortable in that.
That's awesome. And that actually leads me into what I want to talk about why Jade prays all day. Like, why did you decide that? I'm understanding part of it is not really your decision, but like operating in being obedient to what the Spirit and what God is leading you to do. But like, why a book and why Jade prays all day? And why is that the starting place for your journey moving forward?
Okay, so that's a great question. So why Jade prays all day? Well, first, um, growing up, I personally always felt a connection to the Lord, to God. I didn't really. My parents went to church like on Easter Sunday, and Mother's Day and stuff like that. It wasn't something that was like a regular thing in my household, but I always felt like, there, I felt a connection to God. And I think that what happened for me as I got older, and when I got rooted and I started to know the Lord for myself, I was like, oh man, like I really wish that I had that, like I knew him more when I was younger. Like I wish that I had more of a understanding of what it was like to have a relationship with Christ. Like, and we all know that the Bible says, train a child in the way and they should go, and they won't depart. And your parents can only teach you what they know. And
right,
and you just get, as a child, sometimes when you're not that into it, you just get lost in all of the things, right? You don't really, the New King James is just over your head. And I wanted to, one of the things that I learned as an adult is, in order to have a relationship with him, you really have to have conversations with him. And we're children. No matter what age you are, you're a child to the Lord. He's your father. And I wanted to show what it looked like, that scripture that says pray without ceasing. What does that look like from a young person from a child standpoint, but also as an adult, when we're his children, we can talk to him like Father, Daddy. We can bring everything to him. We can talk about the small and the big things with him. And it doesn't have to be like, oh, like he's just so far away. And the thought of God is so vast and big that we can never grasp it. And I just wanted to give children just that visual picture of what it's like to be excited to talk to your heavenly Father all day. And it's not like a task at all. Praying is not a task. It literally is a conversation. Just like you and I are having a conversation.
Right.
I wanted it to be like, it's just a visual picture that we could see a girl who wakes up and just says good morning, just like you would say good morning to your physical family members here, and like, Lord, should I do this? And thank you for this. And just acknowledging that he is present in all things. And that's how you build relationship. And that's why, because I really think if I had that as a child, it would have enriched my relationship with the Lord faster. And I wanted to give children just that visual picture of what that actually looks like, because I went through that as an adult, and I still go through that now. I'm like, Lord, thank you. So I'm like bright-eyed and bushy-tailed about all the things that he does now, and I love that. And I think it's just good when you can give children an early start. It's good to get them while they're young, so they won't depart, so that they do know that it's really cool to be able to talk to the Lord and have a relationship with him, and it's a beautiful thing. So
absolutely, I agree. I've read the book with my daughter, who is 2.5, and what that's one of the things that we work on is praying, and so it was actually a good relief and refreshing to read actually the story with her, and just having that reminder about all of the different ways that you can pray, and the reasons, and how the smallest simplest things can be an easy prayer. And as you're going through difficult things, especially from the perspective of a child, since she's 2, she's still understanding a lot of stuff, but she knows like when it's time to pray. And like, so she knows when, it's pray. If you hear the word pray, then she knows, okay, I need to close my eyes and start saying, the prayers that we practice, especially with her grandparents. And then also like when she hears amen, like she know amen, like all those things. So I think it is hugely important to be able to introduce that young, because once you have it when you're young, even if you do depart momentarily, you know what I mean? You have it down, deep down, right? To be able to pull from that, to use in your adulthood. And
Yeah.
so I want to take a step back really quick because I want to make sure, like, if people are just tuning in through this Zoom live or through Facebook Live, that we're speaking with Uloma um, Wabara, and we are talking about the children's book that she has released called Jade Praise All Day. And so I also want to invite that if you are watching and you're a guest and questions come up that you may want to ask, feel free to use the chat box, and I will do my best to monitor the chat to ask those questions so that they can get answered. Likewise, on Facebook Live, I'm going to be scrolling back and forth. So don't think I'm not paying attention. I'm just trying to make sure that it is as interactive as possible. So before we get into like the nitty gritty of like the publishing process and all of that, I want to make sure that we set the tone at the very beginning about how people can support, where get the book, just your elevator pitch of what the book is about, and
Mhm.
yeah, just all of that. Like the we'll do that first.
Okay. Absolutely. Well, Jade Praise All Day is it's my heart. It is about a young girl who she never forgets to just thank her father for all things big and small. It's a great book for young children and even adults. I'm finding out just to learn how to really have that relationship with our Heavenly Father. And I think your children would love it and enjoy it. I can be found. You can support me at Amazon.com. Barnes and Nobles, every brick and mortar bookstore, it is available there. If not on the shelf, you can get it online, and there she is holding it. And you can also order it on my personal website, which is onlythelomi.com. And if you order there, I'll make sure to sign it for you. I love to make sure that I can, sign it, have a personal note in there. So it's something like a keepsake, but also, Amazon carries it, which is one of the biggest book retailers out there, and it's always available there too. So yeah. So that's me. It's my first book, and it's my baby. So I love it.
So let's talk about, you mentioned that you had a dream, or it was manifested, right? Some years ago, and it came in the book form,
Mhm.
but you weren't really sure about what to do, how do we get it? How did it come from um, this idea, dream, prayer to this physical manifested form of a book?
Yeah. So yeah, so some years ago, I would say I was in my early 20s. I'm 39 now. I was in my early 20s, and the Lord had put it on my heart to write a book. And so I didn't have what the actual book was going to be about. I actually thought that I was going to be writing something about things that had transpired, and this still may happen, transpired in my life about just some life experiences in track and field. I really, because that was my first love, running track. I'm an athlete, and so I thought that it was going to be about that. But it was, I had started something, and I actually put it down because nothing was happening with it. And I just was like, life had gotten me busy. I started working and doing other things, and so I just didn't think that this was going to come to pass. And then cut to after I moved to Los Angeles, and like I said, I got like, even before that, like I just was getting more drawn into to knowing Christ and into my faith and all that. When I came to Los Angeles from Atlanta, I had more time to really sit and reflect on, okay, God, what is it that you're actually calling me to do? I really think that everybody has that in their life. They're like, what is my actual purpose? Like,
Right,
I don't
right.
work without, direction. And so literally there was some shakeup of some things in my life, like just some things that just kind of happened that caused me to have more time to myself. And when in that, I was praying and I was just like, okay, Lord, I don't know what you have me to do, what you would have me to do. And he was like, it's time. Like, it literally was like, it's time to write the book. And I was like, well, what is the book about? Because that book I was like, okay, do I have to pull that back out of the woodworks?
Right.
And he was like, no, just sit down and write. And so I started to sit down and write. And I just have a heart for children. I have a heart for children because there were some things I feel like I missed out on. And I didn't want any child, if they could, to ever miss out on just that sweet relationship that you could have. And so I thought about my relationship with God, even as an adult, and how I was like, oh, wow, you have always been there. Even when I didn't acknowledge you,
Mm-hmm.
you have always been there. You've always been a good father. You've always provided. I've never been alone. And it was like I was a kid. And I remember telling someone like, oh, the Lord gave me this idea to write a children's book. And someone was telling me, well, you don't have any children. And I was thinking to myself, but I'm his child. And
Mm-hmm.
and when I said that, I was like, it really helps solidify the fact that we are his children, and he just wants us to just be that, in awe of him, like in awe of who he is. And I started to write a story about a young girl who literally just has a regular day, but just keeps him involved in it. And and as I was writing, I literally was laughing because it was so easy how prayer can be. It's not difficult. Like,
Right.
I don't know what to say. Like, they think I gotta say, wherefore art thou?
Right. The these and the thous and the
The thous and like all of that. And no, he knows what your voice sounds like. Because he created it, he made you, and he made you specifically how you are. He knows your voice, and that is what he wants. And so I just started to write from just the perspective of a young girl who is just happy to just talk and be in the presence of her father all day. A regular day, going to school, having difficulty with someone at school, but being able to work it out because she understands that, she understands community, she understands being loving, she understands, like, because God loves her, she can extend love. And she doesn't have to get all messed up with all of the things that go on. You can bring things back into focus. Like, you have the power to do that by showing love. And so I just started writing that, and I was like, oh my God, this is it. And it just started to bless me. And then from that point, I was like, now how do I get this out?
It's written. Now what do I do? Right.
And I was like, now how do I get this out? And I wanted to, because I didn't know all of the aspects of publishing. I needed help. And so I started to research companies, and I wanted them to be in alignment with Christian principles. And I wanted to be able to say Jesus, because and a lot of people say God, but I wanted to be able to specifically say Jesus and it be received by the company, and they would read it and accept the manuscript. So I submitted it to, I started researching companies. I looked up a Christian faith-based publishing company, and they were like, well, if you submit it, your manuscript, we'll take a look at it and we'll see if this is something that we would be in line with, and we'll let you know. And so I submitted it to Christian Faith Publishing, and the rest is history.
Yeah. That is awesome. So what was that experience like? Like, what are some of the things that you learned along the way, knowing that there was so much you didn't know? How did you experience that journey with working with Christian? Let me make sure I say it right. Christian Faith Publishing. Yes, Christian Faith Publishing, and just learning about all of the things that basically are a part of the process that you don't necessarily know when you say, okay, I'm gonna do this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, okay. So one of the things was when I first got into this, when I submitted my manuscript, I absolutely knew nothing. So I had to get some, so they assigned me someone who was able to kind of tell me what this process would be and what it would look like. Like, I didn't know the timeline. I literally was green. So I was like, the manuscript is done and they accepted it. So this should be out in like what, 2 months?
Right, right.
Like, I was like, the hard part is done. It is written. So I thought it was gonna be like at the most like a month long journey. No. No, because there's an editing process. There is like just all of this other stuff in the background. Like I had to get illustrations, which is something that costs a little bit more. I actually was going to have my niece who draws amazingly, because I had to conceptualize all of the illustrations, and I never considered myself like an artist. So I was like, they ain't not gonna be able to do that for me. I was like, they're gonna read this story and they're gonna see the vision, but no, like we have to actually give them the vision, because it's ours,
right.
And so I had to literally describe everything that was happening on every page and what that scene was going to look like. And so that takes time. So like, so just the I was green about how long it was actually going to take and how much it would really involve me after I wrote the manuscript. I really thought it was going to be a much shorter time frame.
Right.
And another thing is I didn't know what the return was going to be on each book either. That was another thing that I had to learn, like the cost structure and how much it actually cost to print the books and what was going to bring the most revenue back. But to be quite honest, because this was my first book, I was less concerned. Now on my next book, I'm gonna be a little bit more mindful of
right.
What, you know what I mean? But this one, I literally just needed someone to actually show me what this process looked like and what the cost was going to be and what I would actually be getting back. I wasn't actually concerned about what I was going to get back more than just making an impact and getting this book out there and getting people familiar with the writing style and getting people familiar with the type of books that I would be writing. So I hope that answered your question to some degree.
Oh no, it did. Absolutely. I know that with publishing, it's a lot that just in general, like people don't know. You know, when I first published my book in 2016, there was a lot I didn't know, and I had a friend who had published, I think, 7 books at the time, and had created like this blueprint, right, for self-publishing, and had given me, you know, this manual of like, okay, this is what you do. So I'm like, okay, I just went through all the steps, like, okay, this is what I do, right? And of course, after going through all of the steps and learning all of the timeline and the cost and all of that stuff coupled together, it was like, oh shoot, like there's a whole marketing thing that you're supposed to do. There's like groups that you can join. There are people who have access to information that I was just oblivious to, and really just learn so much. And not until I want to say maybe 2020, like I really started to like throw myself into just the industry and understanding things, because for the same thing that you described in being green and going into the process and maybe, you know, spending money where I didn't need to, or where places where I could have saved money that I didn't, or ways of getting the word out that I kept secretive because I was afraid, you know what I mean, to share this baby like we talked about before with the world. I wanted to be able to offer and give other people opportunity because I come from education. So it was like, I want to be able to educate people because it's not easy, right? Like even when you go through, and Christian Faith Publishing is something like a they're called like hybrid
Yeah.
publishing companies, where they, like, if you have the financial means, you have the story, you have it ready to go, you can submit it, and they will take a lot of those steps
Yeah.
for you that you don't necessarily have to go through individually on your own. And
Mhm.
so some people don't even know that. Some people don't know, like, there are companies that you can use to, like, go through the process, or you can do it all yourself,
Yeah.
or you can, submit a query and try and get picked up by a traditional publishing company. And so that's really like a lot of what my goal is, just to be able to, like, give that information, especially to us in our
Mhm.
community, because
Mhm.
I think that everybody should have a book. I think everybody
Oh,
has a story, and what goes through some people's minds, and you can probably speak to this, is that because I spoke with a friend of mine who was saying, like, I wanted to write a book, but I felt like I didn't have the education to do so. I felt
yeah.
like I, as you mentioned, don't have children. I really want to write a children's book, but I don't have any children. So, like, why would someone receive,
Yeah.
a book from me?
Yeah.
And those are the questions that kind of come up, because you don't know that, like, there are a majority of people in the book industry, right, who are writing books about things that they are not, like, an
Exactly.
expert in. But the
Yeah.
book gives you, that platform in that space. So can you speak to any of that about, did you have any, and I know where you stand today, and with your purpose and the message and overall, but did you have any, like, apprehensions? Were you, like, afraid at any moment of, like, really just operating fully in the gift that you knew that God had given to
Absolutely.
you?
If you don't, then you're like a robot. I don't know. I literally, even when I was coming to the end, the wire, after, like, you know, the editing and all of the editing went back and forth a couple of times, and yet and still, there's still mistakes. You know what I mean? And um, you know, and I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what do I do? Is this going to be well received? Are people going to get it? I myself know that I can go on and on and on, and I'm thinking, like, are people going to get it? And I had that fear of, if I was even going to be able to reach an audience, anybody. If
Hmm.
one person even going to buy this particular book? Is it needed? Even all of that.
Right.
I had to let a lot of those fears go, even because the book is good to me. I love it. But there are some things that you just look at and you're like, oh, but it's not perfect. I missed that.
Hmm.
And but then I had to let go of that perfection idea and just put it out there. I had already spent the money. I had already made some editing mistakes, and I don't like to admit to that, but it's the truth. And I had to look at
Right. Right.
so many books that we love that have turned into movies actually have editing mistakes. And
Yeah.
yeah, and I had to kind of let go of that and say, okay, because you can't turn back now. It's already at the printers, and just continue to go forth, because there's still a message there. And so I definitely had had fears. I didn't know how to market it. I know that it is a hybrid company. They do help you in some aspect, but we have to do the
Right.
legwork ourselves, and actually getting the word out there. And not that I have like a big like audience of followers, but I had to, and I'm not really a person that wants to get out there and sell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so I had to, get into the technical world. I had to decide, okay, let me create a website, and let me um get involved with other book clubs, and connect with other like-minded people who are also doing books, and we work together to, like we're doing now, you know
Right.
to to push forth each other's book and have like a community where people can, can come and see what we all have, because eventually, this is just the first one. There's going to be more, and people are going to just be not necessarily a fan, but just really love what the product that you have that comes from you. And so yeah, I definitely had fears before, and I still have them now, because I used to look at, I don't know, you're selling on Amazon too, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you have that marketing piece where you can look and see like how many you've sold this week,
Right.
And all of that stuff. And you can definitely get discouraged some weeks. But the thing is, we just have to, the good thing about books is there can be a book that is out in 1963 that will take in 2020. So
right, exactly.
thing about having a book, there's a season for everything, and you just have to continue to keep pushing and keep going forward, and just not be scared to put yourself out there and put your work out there.
Absolutely. I 100% agree with you. And that's what I share, with people. Like, once you have the book and it's out there and it's done, like, it doesn't like disappear and go away like clothes. You know what I mean? Like, it's there, it's available. And people can go back and purchase and discover it. And just as you said, years later, you know what I mean? But that's kind of, you're planting the seed, and I love to hear like those stories that people share that they started, right? Even with the music industry, they started an album here and they were working on it, didn't get picked up until 5 years into it. And then when we hear about it, right, when they're all famous and popular, we're like, man, they just did that real quick and didn't know all of the legwork and the time, the energy, the tears, the prayers, all of that go into it behind the scenes, right? Because in these spaces, right, we have to show up and say like, okay, purchase my book and I'm really proud of it, right? But then you don't get to see those moments of the tears behind the scenes when it's like, oh my God, like, is anybody buying it? Does anybody care? Does anybody like this? Like, or even, pushing so hard and putting, your finances, right, into this project, and it's seeming, I have to say seeming like, because again, we know God is operating in the back end, right? But seeming like that people aren't seeing it, that people aren't noticing it, that people aren't understanding whatever it is. And sometimes those small little things can take precedence in our mind, right? The enemy, right? And then allows us to like focus on that so much that we're not even understanding the big picture, the full picture. And sometimes it's not for us to see in that moment, because part of that is things that we need to go through, as individuals, to be able to grow and to trust and to understand and all of that. But one of the main reasons why I even wanted to do this, especially, is because I'm always motivated by people who are like, you know what, if somebody doesn't let you in the door, you create your own door, right? You create your own space. Like, somebody doesn't have to invite me in to say, okay, I want to interview you, or I want to whatever. And it's like, very much like how you mentioned about, you have a platform, I have a platform, I have people that don't know you, right, and never heard of Jay Praise All Day. But that doesn't mean that just because they purchased my book, that they don't have the space to purchase another children's book. Because if they're anything like me in my child's library, we have multiple books, right? And I love books. And we're not just going to buy one, right? We're going to buy multiple books, because we're going to keep reading, we're going to keep discovering, and all of that. And so I just really think that it's important for us, as Black people, as Black women, right, to be able to come together, to support one another, to network. Like, we don't have to have a long history of like, oh, I knew you from here or there. Like, when I see somebody else who is producing a book and is positive and it's uplifting, then yeah, heck yeah, I want to support that. I think Lyle, he, hit me up like, oh, I want to, gift you with a book. And then I'm like, what? Somebody is writing a book. Oh, no. I'm going to get the book, on my own, but I want to connect with her. I'm like, forget you, Lyle. I want to connect with Uloma. and just understand more about it and to be able to share and connect in that way, because I think that it's hugely
Yeah.
important.
Yeah. I agree with that. And what's so beautiful about it is even after writing this book, then I was actually exposed to so many women after that that have written books for children, and even in the same vein, and you would never have had I not done this, I would have even people from my high school that have written books, even faith-based books with that have our faces, like
Right.
girls that look like us, that we can say, that we can connect to and say, wow, like she looks like me. And just because that's what our children are drawn to. They want to see what, a representation of themselves. And I thought that, this is going to be so cool, but then the Lord just kind of opened it up to where I just was able to connect with just a bunch of women who were doing the same kind of thing. Black women that had books, even your book, potty training and things like that, where we would think like, oh, that's we don't normally see that in our community,
Mm-hmm.
when there are books like that in our community. And we can support one another and do things like this and have platforms where we can share. So anytime somebody has a book that that is geared towards children and things like that, I want to put it on my platform and say, hey, did y'all
Right.
see this one? Like, you know what I mean? Because it isn't about me. And another thing that you talked about, that I thought was so, when we were talking about how you can do something and years later it have a profit. Well, the beautiful thing, especially in the beginning stages, when you first put out a book, you start to look at those numbers. But then when somebody contacts you, like there's so many times that people have contacted me and said, oh, my daughter loves this book and she's been asking me questions about Jesus. And like those are the really rich and
Yep.
fulfilling moments where you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wow, it's making an impact. Like it is in the homes of people who are sitting down, which is what we want them to do, sit down with
Right.
children and read to them, sit down with them and just have that family time. And so like it's bringing that back, because so many children now have other distractions, but like
Mm-hmm.
really the jewels are in the books, you know.
Right.
And so yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things that I've thought about, right? And we can have this conversation, right? Because we're two black women.
Yeah.
When and we have black girls on our covers. And so one of the things that I thought about, it kind of hit me in a different way, because just even the times that we're living in, right? We are and not that these times didn't exist before, but right now we're doing a lot of facing, right, our history and racism and um, just social unrest, just all of it, right? We're kind of looking at it head on. We're facing it, right? Um, our books would be considered black books, right? Because of the black girl on the cover. But very much like your book and my book,
Hmm.
nowhere is it talking about Black Jade prays all day, right? The African American way to pray all day, or Black potty training and tips and all of that. And
Hmm.
so it really made me think about, even when I was sharing my book
Hmm.
with people, right? Because it's easy to share. It was easy for me. I can speak for myself. It was easy for me to share it with other people that look like me. But when
Yeah.
it came to that moment when I was like, I want to share this with other people. How
Yeah.
are other people going to receive this book? Are they going to receive it like it's just a book? The same way of my daughter, because she has a lot of books that have all different cultures of people, but like
Hmm.
in our household, we don't see it any different. We just read it, we enjoy it. But it's something about having those black images on the cover that
Yeah.
somehow it's exclusionary to other people, or that it could be limiting. And personally, it just, for me, it was just kind of like,
Hmm.
I'll be honest,
You
I
think
was a little apprehensive. I was a little afraid to like share it. It was really received well, but I
Mhm.
just wonder about just that idea and the concept of like having a book and yes being black and yes having a black face on it, but like it's still not a black book. It's a book. It's a
It's
book
a book.
about prayer. It's a book
Yeah.
about a young girl. Like
Yeah.
anybody can
Yeah.
take that book and pray. And I just wonder if you had any like similar apprehensions, or what has that experience been like sharing your work with people who don't look like
Yeah, I definitely thought about that. I was like, like you said, I don't want this to be exclusionary. Like, this is just a young girl. She's just a young girl like you and I, who just is um talking to her father all day, and she wants to be able to, I wanted it to have that. I really wanted it to be received like that. There is beauty in the fact that she is an African American girl. She's, beautiful, and she's natural. All of those things. You want to make those things normal because that is, who this is, who we are. This is who we represent. But you want it to be well received with everybody. So I definitely had those same thoughts. Then I was thinking like, yeah, I definitely had that. But when it came to sharing it with other people, because I still work in corporate America, and I have my Instagram, my social media, where my coworkers who are from every walk of life, they see the book, um and just thank God, a lot of them have actually supported the book and read it to their children, just reading it as such. Like, it's a beautiful book about, just a young girl, and then in the inside of the book she has a rainbow of friends. Like,
right, right, exactly.
she has male friends, black friends, white friends, blonde hair friends. They're just children.
Right.
And I wanted that to be, I wanted that was an intentional thing for me, but I still wanted it to have like that, a black girl with her a whole family unit, a dad and a mom, and they're just a positive home, home, nuclear family, all of that. I just wanted it to show positive image. And I have yet to get on, because I actually did have people. I've had people reach out to me about sharing the book on other platforms, and when I do it, it literally is just going to be just a young girl who is just in love with talking to her father. But I did want to, because there are several books out there that have just a rainbow of children, and we just look at it, we've been conditioned to look at that as just a book. And
Right.
we want to, that's why more of us need to write books and
Exactly.
our images, so that it does become normal to people. And it's not like that's a black book, because
Right.
it's not a black book. It is a book about prayer. Actually, Jesus is at the center. He is the star of the show in this. So that, yes, I definitely had apprehension about it, and I had thoughts about it. And then I also thought, man, should all the children, all of her friends be black? And then I was like, no, because that's not how the world is. I had all of those thoughts, but at the end of the day, I just wanted it to be received by children. I don't, black, white, Asian, whatever, especially in this time, we need to be able to, just to be able to look at people and see their heart. Like, and we
Absolutely.
all go through the same things. We all potty train. It's not just,
Right.
and we all care about our children who, and there are different experiences. We all, want to have a relationship with God. And it's not just you are Caucasian, and this is what it looks like for you. No, this is how it looks like for everybody. You're black, this is what it looks like for you. No, this is what it looks like for all of us. We all go through these things. We all, um we all want to share what our journeys are like, and it doesn't have to be limited to just one group of people. It's for everybody.
Absolutely, absolutely. And our reality is that we do, even think about these and consider it. And a lot of times, other people are not even aware, like, of the stuff that we kind of like think about and ponder over before releasing something, just because of the image, right, of the character in the book. But I definitely agree that it is hugely important to continue to put those images out there so it becomes more frequent and it normalizes, and it is just kind of like, oh, another book, and that children overall just get excited. It warmed my heart, to see, because my daughter goes to a daycare where she's the only Black girl in the daycare, so it warmed my heart to see the other children like get excited about the book. They knew that it was her image, and just excited about that, wanting to wear the t-shirt, wanting to hold up the book. Like, it just gave me a lot of joy, because it's like, as you talk about, like, just the difference. We are all children in God's eyesight, and there's that innocence, right, that
Mhm.
children have, that sometimes, right, as adults, when we have our experiences and we have this stuff that goes on, we tend to shy away and get away from that just innocence of life and just joy and connection with people. And so it's amazing and great that you're reminding us, right, through this book, with being able to, as myself, being able to read it with my daughter, to remind me. I was like, "Ooh, shoot! Like, I ain't been praying like I need to be praying. Like, oh Lord, are you trying to send me a message through the children's book? Okay, we need to get it together." But I mean, and that is part of it too.
Yeah.
So as we kind of wrap up, because I know we're nearing the end, I just want to put it out there again to those who are tuning in or watching. If you have any specific questions, now would be the time to put them in the chat and ask, or to share just appreciation for Uloma. I want to give you the opportunity just one more time to share where everyone can support you, and how, I guess, the best way in this moment, if
Mhm.
someone has already purchased a book or they haven't purchased a book, what is the best way to support you in this moment?
Well, in this moment is spread the word. Follow me on Only the Lonely Publishing, because this is just the beginning of the journey. It's on, like, if you follow me on Only the Lonely Publishing, I have more children's book coming. I eventually and want to launch out and give other people opportunities to publish their book through my company, which is why I went through Christian Faith, so I can learn the full
Right.
process and what that looks like, because I want to give more people a voice. And so, yes, please support me by following, letting your friends know about these books, and about Only the Jade Prays All Day. If they have children, get it as gifts, because children do not, we're getting away from books and reading, and that helps spend quality time with family coming together. And and that is just my main thing. I want to bring the family back together over Jesus, and with the children at the center of it, children and Jesus at the center of it all. So please follow me on Only the Lonely, and buy 2 and 3 for your nieces and nephews and cousins and all the children that you love in your life.
Yes, because reading is super important, and building literacy for our children. As I mentioned before, like, I work in education, and I work specifically with high school kids, and there's a large amount of our community that are not necessarily reading on grade level. And so it's really, really important, for parents and grandparents and aunties and cousins. And, you don't have to be the person's parent to like read with them. You can just pull out a book from your library. You say, keep the children's book at your house. So when the kids come over, you're like, hey, look, we're going to sit down and we're going to read some books, just to build the love, right, for reading and seeing the images. I definitely wanted I would be remiss if I don't share this part of the information. This interview, I wanted to be solely mainly about you and what your project is. So I'm not necessarily promoting potty training day right now, but I do want to share the other part of what I do and what I would like to do as a support to other people. So I've created or in the process of creating a course called Self Publishing Made Simple. And the idea of it, and I'm gonna share, like, this will be my little commercial break. I'll share a quick little video that kind of gives more information about it. But the purpose is mainly for what you were sharing, is that a lot of us, we want to write, we want to publish a book, we don't know how, and we end up kind of researching through the internet, and we go through this rabbit hole of finding stuff and not knowing and taking this and like, oh, that's the way you do it, but not really understanding what we're doing or being able to make the right decisions for ourselves based on what makes sense. And so that's why I'm building this course, in order to educate others, anyone who wants to learn how to publish, who wants the information. And then at the end of it, you get to decide what avenue you want to take. You might even decide after, you're like, oh, heck no, I'm not trying to do all that. Like, I thought it was going to be real easy.
Yeah.
But it's not necessarily. So I am going to share my screen to share this quick video. And let me make sure I'm sharing the sound. And then we will close. So let's see. Hopefully you can see this. All right. So let me stop sharing. So, yes, Revision Publishing LLC is the company that I have created, and it's an indie publishing firm basically designed to just support aspiring authors. So I do consultations, I did not necessarily want to be like a hybrid publishing company to publish for other people, but the more that I'm kind of like getting into the work, I'm understanding that people are like, well, if you could do it, can you just do it for me? And then it's like, well, I guess I could. So I am really excited. I do have a few clients that I am working with. So, like, if you are interested in writing a book, you have two avenues that you can absolutely go with. You can support Miss Uloma. You can support Revision Publishing. There is room, right, for everyone. Everyone, there is room. Final words, comments.
I just want to say, Sharifa, thank you so much for just having me. I think that what you're doing is beautiful. I mean, you are not only you're not just fishing for people, you're teaching them how to. And I think that's a beautiful thing. And I love that we could come together and do something like this. I can't wait to get my potty train book. And I love the fact that you did it with your daughter. And I'm so excited for what you have going on, and I can't wait to just be able to do more with you. And I'm going to be learning from you because I'm still at the, like I said, I had a hybrid help me, but eventually I want to be able to support and help people and walk along with them in the process too. So this is just as much as a blessing for me to be able to be a part of this. So thank you.
Absolutely. Yes, this is the beginning.
Yeah.
nowhere near the end. This is the beginning. So, for the purpose of the Facebook Live, I will stop the Facebook Live, but then I will allow just